Good afternoon and welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. Former Vermont Governor and U.S. Senator George D. Aiken is credited with giving the counties of Caledonia, Essex, and Orleans the nickname the Northeast Kingdom due to the region's pastoral beauty and sheer splendor. And as a native of the kingdom, I couldn't agree more. For 8 weeks this past summer, 11 UVM students lived, worked, and learned in the kingdom as part of the 2024 Northeast Kingdom Vermont Community Resilience Summer Internship Program. This is the second year of that program that was developed and funded by the Leahy Institute. Joining me to talk about this opportunity is Kristen Andrews, the Internship Outreach and Engagement Professional at UVM's Career Center and the Office for Engagement, and Maggie Patterson, a UVM Public Communications major who interned at the Greensboro Free Library as part of this project. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
And Kristen, usually internships are kind of solo pursuits, but these were largely designed to be more of a community program. Can you tell me a little about that?
Sure. We built a cohort of interns that all lived together in the Northeast Kingdom, but we started by talking with local employers that were all working on community resilience, and found a group that was willing to host interns, so that we worked with them to develop their positions, and so many of the positions overlapped and worked together, but all the students had the opportunity to live together in a dormitory at Sterling College.
I just got back from work and it's 4 o'clock, and so I thought I would give you a little bit of a room tour. This is what my room looks like. These awesome slippers I got the other day. Love them. This is the view out my window.
All right, and we were talking a little before, that's actually called South House. Maggie, what was it like living there?
It was very fun. All of us were able to get together. We had movie nights and everything, and it was very it was a supporting environment. We all got to learn about each other's jobs since we all had different ones, so it was pretty cool.
And let's jump into your job a little bit. It sounds like you started working for the Greensboro Library, looking a little bit more towards their social media, but as it evolved, things changed a little bit. Tell me about what you ended up doing.
Yeah, so I worked with the social media, but also kind of did website design and newsletter kind of design as well, which was kind of stated in the beginning with the marketing aspect, but I also got to work with event planning with the child's librarian director, Emily, and we were able to I was able to help with those programs, which were really fun. They definitely catered to my interests, which was nice.
Sure, but a range of topics.
Yeah, a range of topics, yeah.
And Kristen, a lot of the time events like this can become kind of a culture clash, so how did you help students try and avoid maybe those stereotypes that would come with it?
Yeah, that was something we thought a lot about because we were bringing a lot of UVM students up. Some of them had not lived in rural areas before, I believe Maggie. Where are you from, Maggie?
I'm from DC area, Maryland, yeah.
Yeah, so we were aware that this could be really different than what our students were used to. So we spent an entire week on orientation where we invited community members in to talk about what they knew about the Northeast Kingdom. Like the director of the food pantry came and spoke and said, here's what food access looks like in the Northeast Kingdom. And the editor of the Hardwick Gazette came and said, here's what my history of living in this community my whole life has been like. So we really tried to give them some background. And we also brought in some UVM professors that are trained in rural development. So discussions about what does it mean to be of service and what kinds of stereotypes might we encounter really helped to prepare the students for what they were about to jump into.
And Maggie, we just touched on a little bit that you're not used to living somewhere this rural. Did you feel like it was really different? Did you feel cut off at all?
Not cut off, but definitely cut off from my phone because of the lack of service. But it was kind of nice to have that and not have to worry. Definitely GPS wise, had a bit of a difficulty with that, but nothing too serious. So. Yeah.
Sure. And in your time there, did anywhere stand out as a highlight, maybe a place to eat or a place you have to visit if you're going to the kingdom?
Me and a couple of the other interns went to Parker Pie for trivia night, so that was really fun. I think it was every Wednesday or something we would try to go. So yeah, and then we also went to the Hardwick Farmers Market, which another intern worked at, but that was exciting to just see all the different kind of local businesses.
Yeah, get out a little bit. And do you think your time over the summer has kind of informed your work at UVM so far this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think it definitely changed my perspective of UVM because I don't know that much about Vermont being from Maryland and not being up here, so definitely broadened my scope of Vermont and not just Burlington, which was nice.
And this can be kind of internships can sometimes feel a little bit isolating, but how did you avoid pitfalls of making sure that every student had a successful experience working with really good employers and collaborators here?
Sure. I mean, part of it was that the collaborators really worked with us to develop engaging job descriptions. And then they chose their own interns, so we didn't place them in positions. So everybody was really excited to have our interns with them because they had been able to choose them. And also every intern worked with their supervisor to have a learning contract. So at the outset, everybody talked about, here's what I want to learn, here's how I'm going to learn it, and here's how I'm going to show that I've learned it. And then throughout the summer, that was something that we could refer back to make sure that things were on track and everybody was getting what they needed and that it was a reciprocal arrangement.
Sure, a lot of collaboration and a lot of intention, it sounds
Yes.
I'm about to start my day. It's currently 7:30 in the morning, and I'm going to take you with me today to my internship in the Northeastern Kingdom. These are our garden beds, sand tables. We have a pavilion going up tomorrow. It is almost 11, and so we're about to break for lunch, where we're doing a community senior meal in Barton.
We're joined by another student now who took part in the Northeast Kingdom Vermont Community Resilience Summer Internship Program. Let me introduce Tara Schomer. She's a sophomore in the College of Arts and Sciences, so tell me what your major is.
Hi, my major is environmental studies.
And what summer internship activity did you participate in?
I participated in the Glover Sensory Trail, which is really cool. It's an all-persons park.
So what did you do in that?
We helped, it was a lot of trail building, which is not my expertise at all, so I got to use a lot of different power tools, and we helped building sensory garden, which is really cool, and lots of different stations.
Sure, was this kind of a community effort in Glover?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was all volunteer based, which is really cool, and so it was led by the Glover Equity Committee, and so it was a frequent like 5-ish volunteers, but we worked together really well, and by the end of the project I knew like at least 60 people from the town.
Great, yeah, so you really got to know the community. That's almost as many people as live in Glover, I think. And where are you from originally?
I'm from outside Chicago in LaGrange Park.
So was this like a big difference for you?
It was a really big difference. I was really used to being in like a 5-minute radius of like every fast food chain you can imagine, and then living at Sterling College where we get a CSA share of like fresh food every week, which is really, really cool, and being able to make my own food.
Absolutely. And we were talking about this a little bit between guests here, but that a lot of people are visiting from somewhere that's a little more urban, but there were also some Vermonters participating in the program, is that right?
Yes, we had a student from Cabot and a student from Grand Isle, and students from suburban areas. It was a really nice mix.
Sure, was that intentional or just how the program ended up?
It was completely about who the community partners chose to work with them. So we didn't choose them. They all, and it was amazing. Everybody, it was such a great match. All the intern hosts were super happy with their interns.
Absolutely. And Tara, you were in the Kingdom over the summer during some of the big flooding that some of those communities saw, and you were saying yourself that Glover didn't get hit directly, but did you see any of those impacts?
I think there was definitely transportation issues during the first week. Glover didn't get hit as hard as it had the previous summer, which is really good for us, but there were transportation issues. I know the Hardwick Farmers Market got wiped out, and so they had to move it to a different school, but it was really cool seeing the whole community coming together and supporting that, because I felt like it was even a bigger turnout than the previous weeks.
And we're leaving the Barton senior meal, and we're about to go back to the office and do some computer work.
You're now kind of an honorary member of the Northeast Kingdom, so is there anything that you would recommend for a visitor, somewhere that you got to stop and get lunch or go visit?
Yeah, I know the other intern and I, Carolyn, we would always go to Currier's in Glover to get lunch when we were doing trail work, but there was one highlight that we had when it was at the end of the summer. We all went to Summer Sweet Gardens in Hardwick, which is like a tea and like flower boutique type.
Sure,
thing.
okay.
Yeah. And I keep thinking about the tea and wanting to go back for the crumpets and such.
Sure, speaking of that, is the Kingdom now a place that you'd like to return to? Is it somewhere you'd even consider working?
I would say yes. I feel like I was really lucky with all the connections that I was able to make with the community, and I've already gone back since after this the internship for the grand opening of the trail, and it was really nice to stay at some of the other volunteers' houses, and I don't know, I'm excited to see them all again.
This internship has taught me a lot on what it means to do community development work. I know that I want to be a Peace Corps volunteer, and this has definitely helped me understand how to do that and why I want to do that. It's been a really, really great experience, and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of such an amazing opportunity.
Kristen, we've heard firsthand what a great opportunity this is for students participating. So are you hoping this program continues?
Absolutely. The Leahy Institute is very interested in cultivating internships in rural areas all around Vermont. And so we'll be looking for other communities in the state to develop similar programs with, but we are working on a plan to also send some students back to the Northeast Kingdom. We've secured the Sterling housing again and are just working on finding some funding for the wages. So hope to get 2 programs going next summer.
Yeah, so is there anywhere in particular you're looking across the state, or is that still in the works aside from the Kingdom?
Still in the works. There's a bunch of different options popping up. So
sure,
we're excited. We're excited
to
to see which partnerships end up coming to fruition this summer.
Sure, and Tara, before we wrap up, were you able to travel around the Kingdom and see some sites? You've touched on a few places you visited, but did you have some time off to kind of explore?
Yeah, I went to Lake Willoughby a few times, which is really, really great. Yeah, just all the different lakes, I think, was probably my highlight.
Tell them about the Clyde River.
Oh, we all went canoeing down the Clyde River.
Nice.
Which was crazy. Like, I had never really canoed much before, and so going on like a 3-hour canoe trip with all of the interns was really, really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
And that takes care of our program for today. My thanks to the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX. I'm Jolie Whitney. Have a good one.